Moving on to the North American games, we've got two coming at you. Right now, it's going to be Gabe versus Noble. Our commentators standing by.
What's going on, everyone? Like F. mentioned, we are ready to go on to the North American side of our SPL games today. I'm Aggro. That's Toli. You're still chat. That was Tom earlier on doing something. We're ready to go. Noble versus In Memory of Gabe. In Memory of Gabe, undoubtedly one of the top teams in North America.
Absolutely.
Right at the top of the standings, undefeated so far. And then you've got Noble, who first set, they get 0-2'd. This set, their last set against Luminosity, they split. They're starting to get a little bit of momentum here. Do you think that they can compete with a team like In Memory of Gabe?
Absolutely. Splitting against Luminosity, splitting also against Team Allegiance, Noble Esports. They have to work out some kinks, but they've been finding the wins here, and it's still really early on in the split. It's only week number 3 here, and there's still a lot of potential for this new roster here. You know, there's 2 members here from the console scene between Chapo and Uzzy. You know, you're getting paired up with other old school members here between Wubbn and Wowy. And then in the mid lane as well, Noble has some veterans on MLC side.
Absolutely. Gab taken away from Wubbn. He's played it so often on Noble that In Memory of Gabe, they take it immediately for Eonic. Noble's going to respond with Batz and Janus. Love this Janus selection for Noble. Not only is Stealth very, very comfortable on this god, but it takes it out of Hurriwind's hands. Remember, these two teams faced off in the relegations, and they played in a 60-minute battle during the open bracket, I remember, and it was all determined by Hurriwind snipes on Janus, so you know the guys on Noble are still thinking about that.
Those snipes are very sneaky and misleading as well, the further away they are from its point of origin, so it's a great pickup here for Noble, having that global pressure. Memory of Gabe, though, picking up the Thanatos, which could be a flex pick here, could go on the side of Whalrus, could also go on the side of Cynosure.
Yeah, we've seen Whalrus play it before. Cynosure had a great game on it earlier this split as well, I do believe. You mentioned the console players on the side of Noble, but Cynosure as well, coming over from the console scene, played on Team Allegiance during last season on the console side. Now one of the premier junglers already in North America, I would say. He's had an unbelievable start to his SPL career very, very early on. Susano and a Willish targeting out Cynosure in the jungles. Noble, they believe that Thanatos is going to the solo lane for Whalrus. 2 Guardian bans there for In Memory of Gabe. They can also end up playing the solo lane. Both Cabrakan and Solo can kind of flex pick.
Taking away a lot of early game options from Memory of Gabe with those 2 bands of junglers. It's going to leave them in a tricky spot, Memory of Gabe. Going to pick up their Hercules here. It's going to have a lot of control between this Geb and Hercules. More than likely, it's going to be Whalrus looking to dive that backline, and then we're going to see Eonic just kind of wait and peel for his mid laner, especially with Hurriwind playing this Raw here. You need to make sure that this Raw survives as long as possible so he can throw out numerous heals.
Hurriwind on Raw week 1, I do believe it was, for Memory of Gabe, was absolutely amazing, on point with those snipes. Have to see if he's going to have that same level of play here up against Noble. Vamana going to be the last selection for Noble in that solo lane for Uzzy. Very, very standard composition for Noble. No real flex pick opportunities with what they drafted. Everything's going where it is, and they're just looking to out-team fight you with this composition.
And you've teamed with Chapo as well before, so you're expecting this Batz to go really ham here, especially with MLC Stealth playing this Janus, just to be able to either complement that aggression or to be able to bail him out.
Chapo only knows one speed, and it's 100. I mean, he wants to go hard all the time. That's exactly what I expect him to do on this Batz, like you mentioned. Cynosure, because of the fact that the Noble banned out a lot of junglers in that second phase, In Memory of Gabe potentially switch up their potential possibilities and instead give him the Thanatos in the jungle, leaving Whalrus to play this Hercules in the solo lane. Whalrus has played this before, if my memory serves me correctly, and it looked very, very comfortable on it.
He's always comfortable with every god ever since he's made a great performance here in the group stage land, being able to solo numerous people, making a lot of plays, and this is why he's been able to make such a staple impact for Memory of Gabe here heading into Season 4 Spring Split.
For me, this matchup really, one of the ones I'm really looking forward to, and with these 2 teams specifically, is Wowy versus Snoopy. Snoopy, one of the members of the old guard, been playing Hunter forever, always really strong at it. Now back in the Hunt duo lane after a little bit of a time in mid, but overall, very, very strong Hunter. And then you've got Wowy, who's really starting to burst onto the scene as one of the new players that he played last season, but I think he's really starting to come into his own this season.
It's not just Wowy versus Snoopy, it's also Eonic paired up with Wubbn. Wubbn in this duel, and we saw Wubbn trying to be aggressive here, poking out the Geb support by flopping on him, but because he did that, now they didn't have a lane clear, which favors Memory of Gabe being able to out-pressure that combination and still looking for more poke.
There's the flop on Eonic yet again, so Wubbn trying to get a little bit of poke onto Eonic like you mentioned, but that time it was on top of the melee minions as well. Red buff has already been cleared, giving that over to MLC Stealth. Most of the time we've seen these hunters pick up the red buff and help them with their early lane clear, but for Noble, trying to give it into the hands of one of their hard carries in their mid laner.
Now you're going to be able to really pick that up as Wowy. Snoopy and Eonic is not leaving this lane anytime soon, so that's going to be 2 buffs for Memory of Gabe on their side, left-hand side, just to be able to farm that out. They need to really start rotating and clearing that out, because we're seeing Elchapo not making too many rotations here up until now, finally helping out the blue buff being cleared for Uzzy.
Yeah, very, very unusual so far in Season 4 to see both teams just sit in lane for a little bit, then go do their buffs, then sit in lane again. No sort of invades or anything of the sort. It's been Noble and Gabe just content to trade away their buffs as much as possible. Early on here, the purple buff getting done by Noble, like I mentioned. Both teams just doing their own buffs.
And that's going to help out Noble now with their red and purple buff gone first. They get back into the duel lane quicker than Snoopy and Eonic will, being able to clear out this wave. This is the timing window when the oracles are going to start to be looked at.
Right-hand Harpies split there. Both Gabe and Noble get one. Hurriwind decides to back up, and wisely so, having 3 members of Noble lurking in that jungle. Basically even so far here, 2.5 minutes in. No invades, no nothing, no significant poke back and forth. It's just been a farm fest. But here's that significant poke right now. Through space and time, fired Stealth, cuts off Eonic, trying to find that rollout, getting that CC immunity and extra speed. Wow, we get to find him on the other side of the wall. Chapo was just waiting to teleport to him with that Furious Monkey, and MLC Stealth able to pick up the first blood. Noble first on the board.
Well, Snoopy recognized that there was no saving Eonic there, so he likes to pick up those oracles just to get his team a little bit of vision. Now in a 1v2 spot in the duel lane, he'll be able to hit level 5 a little bit quicker than Wowy will, considering he's getting this solo farm, and with all those abilities from Noble clearing the wave, they won't be able to really put pressure onto Snoopy, and it's really difficult to put pressure on Medusa, considering her passive allows her to move so much quicker whenever she's moving backwards or sideways.
And there you see MLC Stealth using a different side of the Janus ultimate, where you're used to seeing him snipe people away, you know, be the cannon that we all know that he is. But they're using it to cut off the escape route from Eonic, forcing him to roll out back towards the enemy jungle and securing that first blood. Excellent recognition and just overall map awareness there between MLC Stealth and the rest of Noble. And he's gone for this Doom Orb right off the bat. Hurriwind electing to go for the Dynasty Blade Helm, a little bit of extra defense, penetration, but Doom Orb, that's just straight up damage.
And that's really risky considering Cynosure is playing this global Thanatos, looking for a lot of potential executes, maybe even looking for just to engage off of the ultimate alone to set up with Hurriwind Snipe is a big, important tool that can happen here for Memory of Gabe, but not respecting that is Stealth. And that could be partly due to the fact that he's expecting Chapo and Wubbn to be so aggressive that they're going to be the ones to engage first.
Well, there's the engage right away. Wubbn immediately gets erased. There's the Fear No Evil onto Eonic. Wowy try to make the rotation here. Portal finds the damage, but actually takes Eonic out of the majority of that Desert's Fury. Wowy can't find the impale. Eonic finally does fall, but Wowy as well. Cynosure thinking about going in, but too low on HP. 2 for 1 in favor of Gabe there.
Eonic sacrificing himself yet again, his second death, but he buys enough time to make sure that Wowy falls as well. This is going to give a nice advantage for Snoopy, now sitting with a 1-level lead here, looking like he's going to be able to clear out this left-hand side, and now having the reinforced greaves for both supports is going to make them a little bit harder to kill here.
Love the positioning there from Hurriwind in that engagement. You see him hanging out along that bottom left-hand wall, actually on the other side of the wall, just waiting for Eonic to set him up with the Cataclysm, with the knockup. And as soon as you started saying about how aggressive Noble was going to be, Wubbn flops in. Unfortunately, wasn't able to find anyone with it, and that's when you know as a Bacchus player. You flop into 3 people and you miss, and you're like,
You done goofed. You just done goofed, and that's what happened there with Wubbn. He was level 4, he misses the belly flop. Obviously, he doesn't have the Intoxicate to help out the rest of his team find any kills, but the ultimate from Chapo was really impactful there, being able to separate a lot of people here from Memory of Gabe. Also, the ultimate coming on the side of Stealth actually did hit and did a lot of damage onto Eonic, so it's a great position here for Noble to still continue onto the aggression. Even if they lose that last encounter 1 for 2, they're not going to be discouraged to be able to look for more.
Another good good thing for Noble, if you're rooting for them, is that MLC Stealth has got both kills so far. He's already almost maxed out on those Doom Orb stacks, and he didn't fall in that last fight, so making sure that those are up and ready to go. Oracles go the way of Gabe, just giving them a little bit more Gold Fury vision, and Noble really do need to be careful about that because Gabe has excellent objective burn potential between Hurriwind and Snoopy and Eonic. They can do a lot of damage to this Gold Fury, and then those heals from Hurriwind are going to be so impactful to make sure they're still healthy afterwards.
And the shield coming from Eonic to be able to tank that Gold Fury a little bit longer, so this is something that Memory of Gabe have been doing a good job so far about controlling those Oracles, which, like you mentioned, Noble has to respond to Chapo, the waiting on the left side mid Harpies. He's looking for another offensive play.
It always is trying to find something in that mid lane, but Hurriwind and Eonic still pretty far back. Hurriwind just now back and going to try and get up a little bit more mobility by rushing that Dynasty Plate Helmet. You, of course, forego the mobility that Boots gives you in your rotations and just able to get away. Uzzy and Whalrus over here, haven't really checked in with them at all. They've been chilling, but Gold Fury, that's getting aggressed on immediately by Noble. As soon as they see Hurriwind and Eonic back, they immediately head towards the objective. I was talking about a Memory of Gabe possibly sneaking one of those, but instead it's Noble snagging one, pushing their gold lead. Meanwhile, hovering death just a little bit missed there by Cynosure. Whalrus trusted the teammate, goes for the boulder. Love the play between the two, just not quite able to find the home.
Like the key word you mentioned there is trusting the teammate. Despite missing that ultimate, you have to be ready with your trigger finger to throw out that boulder at any given moment. That's the whole point of this wombo combo from Cynosure, and it's not a bad idea focusing out Vamana at this stage before those defenses come online, before the health. That's going to be some easy picks between the two. There's a lot of damage.
Oh, well, Whalrus, he's in trouble now, knocked up. There's a Fear No Evil, no boulder available. Good heal, giving him a little bit, but the crit, and then the snipe from MLC Stealth. Got all 3 kills for Noble. Noble didn't need that help necessarily, but, you know, Stealth just likes putting stuff on his highlight reel.
Just for good measure, the snipe comes out. You know, they knew that they were going to get the kill without the snipe, but those portals were there just to bail out Noble in case they wanted to retreat under the safety of Chapo and Stealth. So finding their 3rd kill of the game now, it's very interesting for it to be onto Whalrus as well. He has to be more careful now when using these driving strikes to clear the wave.
Wubbn finds the flop there, hit the 2-man Intoxicate as well. Eonic falling very, very low. Red buff, I believe, still goes the way of Gabe. Chapo finds him the Petrify, able to turn around in time. Nice Death Sight from Cynosure, but Chapo teleports in immediately into that Cataclysm. Eonic's gonna fall here, but in Stealth actually portals him out of the Desert Fury again. Wow, he's still able to pick up that kill, but the team synergy still clearly a work in progress for Noble.
Cynosure just now getting his ultimate. Didn't have it in that last team fight after that botched engagement on the right-hand side. Chapo barely able to escape that one. So that was a nice free pick onto Eonic. This time around, Wubbn made a huge impact with that belly flop Intoxicate, doing a lot of damage. But now Whalrus invading this blue buff because Chapo and Uzzy are really low. They can't do anything about it.
Chapo, no ultimate. Uzzy, no ultimate either. So that's why you see Noble decide to give that buff up on that right-hand side. The mid-jungle combination for Noble has been a part of every single kill so far. It's only been 4, but they've both been there. Even Stealth, even when the gank on the right-hand side, able to get there courtesy of through space and time and get away that snipe. Definitely the synergy already working between the two.
I'm expecting an instant Janus ban coming on the side of Memory of Gabe. I can sense the frustration already from Hurriwind. He doesn't really like playing against Janus, and sometimes he doesn't even like playing Janus, despite himself being able to hit multiple snipes regardless. So this is a guy that Memory of Gabe has a love-hate relationship with.
Absolutely. I feel like a lot of pros have a love-hate relationship with Janus across the board, basically. Cynosure on this Thanatos has not had the early pressure that you really like to see. Snoopy found in the jungle there, so low on mana, already used the Purification. Fear No Evil coming as well. MLC Stealth not going to be a part of that kill, despite throwing the through space and time out there just in case. There you see Wubbn actually end up able to pick that one up. 5 kills to 2 for Noble, and they're just roaming as a group. The cohesion seems to really be there already for the squad.
This is a very aggressive squad, and this is what you have to do to be able to continue off of the aggression. The question is, what do you get off of the pick onto Snoopy? He's still dead for 10 seconds. Now he's going to miss out on a whole wave on the left, and there's aggression in mid. Hurriwind.
Very low. Chapo jumps underneath the tower and is able to pick him up with that in-hand damage underneath the tower. MLC Stealth able to get the kill, actually 4-0-1 for the mid laner. And again, just that time it's a 2v3 in Noble's favor. Wubbn is there. Eonic is busy covering that left side for Snoopy while he's dead. And Hurriwind and Cynosure actually barely escapes with his life in that scenario. Almost 2 for 2-for-0 in Noble's favor, but they still are able to pick up that kill. 6-2, read the kills for Noble. And they haven't won a game one yet, totally. Both of their splits against Luminosity and Allegiance, they lose game one pretty handily in both cases, and then are able to come and make great adjustments. But this tells me that they're making adjustments outside of the games even.
A lot of poke that Whalrus is doing onto Uzzy. He's going to get knocked up. Not going to be able to chase down that little baby, but the damage has been dealt. Uzzy might have to back into base here because all this poke here can set up Cynosure for that execute threshold, and that's what they're really looking for. The failed gank earlier on the right-hand side. The question is Cynosure going to look for a second one?
As he did decide to back, does not have the teleport, but Vamana, one of the best warriors at getting back to lane because of his extremely high base movement speed, as well as clear the path, getting him there pretty quickly out of base. He has picked up Meditation as his second relic, still waiting to see exactly what Whalrus is going to elect to go for. You see on the side of the Hunters, two different styles of builds here. You see Snoopy going for the Devourer's Gauntlets, where Wowy going for Transcendence on the Anhur. Who does this favor in terms of boxing matchups?
It's all dependent on whether or not Wowy can get off his combo. That's the power spike play of the Transcendence, since you're getting so much physical power, and with the Impale and Desert Fury scaling so well, that's something that Wowy will succeed winning if he lands these abilities. But if there's just straight up, you ignore all abilities between Snoopy and Wowy, you're looking at pure in-hands, it's definitely going to favor Snoopy having those Devourer Gloves, but only once it's fully stacked.
Well, Whalrus, he's picked up a Sunder as his second relic. No need for that Meditation, seeing as how Eonic already has one, but Whalrus made the rotation over to the left-hand side, just in case Noble started up the Gold Fury right on time, but Uzzy stays in lane and is able to push down that solo tower, no problem whatsoever, giving 500 more gold to Noble.
He had to teleport on the left. He was too worried about Noble getting their second Gold Fury of the game, and that's would have been a good play maybe for even Memory of Gabe to sacrifice that tower on the right-hand side, look for a 5-on-4 bait play around that Gold Fury, but not having too much vision control around the Gold Fury deters teams from making risky plays like that. With the composition from Noble between the Janus and the Hunbat, it's going to create so much disruption and chaos that Memory of Gabe could easily collapse, even in a 4-on-5.
Plenty of disruption, like you mentioned. You've got the Bacchus Intoxicate, the knockups, the slow coming out of Wowy can also make a really big difference in the team fights. Noble's team composition definitely heavily focused around picking off enemy members, but can also team fight very, very effectively. In Memory of Gabe, their team composition really wants to wait it out a little bit, wait for some longer engagements, and utilize that heal out of Hurriwind in the mid lane.
I love what Uzzy's doing here, just basically positioning himself right outside that tier 2 tower in the solo lane, making sure that he'll clear it as quickly as possible, and then look for the rotation. Same thing is going for Whalrus, trying to look for the proxy between the tier 1 and tier 2. Uzzy even going past the tier 2 between the Phoenix, looking for even a second wave.
There's the flop onto Eonic. Unstable Vortex as well. Good stun. Chapo teleports in, getting a little bit of extra damage onto Cynosure, courtesy of that Hydra's Lament auto attack. Now, Eonic and Cynosure are a little bit poked out, but Hurriwind does have those heals. But Wowy's been on the Gold Fury the whole time, and it's already getting very low. Petrify, not in time to steal it away.
Not going to find his second Gold Fury, going for Noble. Chapo very low. He jumps away, executed threshold, though. He gets out of it, but after the beam, he's back into it. Finding the kill is Cynosure. Nice little pull push, though. Boulder's going to get immune by the Aegis. Cynosure's going to get traded out.
Oh, great impale there onto Snoopy. Saves stealth and picks up the enemy hunter. Wowy making plays. Uzzy trying to get into that back line. The slow onto both Eonic and Hurriwind. Both going to be able to get away. 2-for-1 in favor of Noble, as well as the Gold Fury going their way. And it was tough to see in the middle of all of that, but Wowy finds an unbelievable impale onto Snoopy there to save his mid laner's life.
And that's what you have to do. Make sure that you're playing off of each other. That was a great engage there by Noble as well. They allowed Snoopy to get a little bit closer there, and once Snoopy got a little further, after the Petrify happened, the CC immunity wears off, and then the Fear No Evil happens. Whalrus, though, he's going to peek his head around the corner, going to get zoned out by Uzzy a little bit, looking like he wants to try to contest his Portal Demon, but it's not going down quickly enough.
No, not quite yet. There's the pull into both Wowy and Uzzy, but MLC Stealth is here, and he's got a lot of damage to help out his team. The rest of Noble, they decide to get back on that Portal Demon. Very, very disciplined play there. there from them, not chasing the enemy into that tier 1 tower in middle lane. Despite being around half health, Noble extends their gold lead even farther. They're up 6,000 gold already at the 15-minute mark.
This is the first game that Memory of Gabe has really been on the ropes thus far. You know, they had 2 games, 2 sets against Allegiance and Flashpoint, finding wins against both of those teams, but this is looking like they're going to be struggling here against Noble. Obviously, the first set against Allegiance, Hurriwind with those raw snipes has been just on point the whole time, but we haven't seen him do the same. He's been rather quiet this game.
Very, very counter-aggressive is in Memory of Gabe's draft. They're waiting for Noble to go in with the engage and try and use their defensive relics properly, get away from them, re-engage with something like Hovering Death and a snipe from Hurriwind, but Noble's just had their engages go so well right off the bat. You got to give a lot of credit to Wubbn in that. Just finding these flops. And here, an immediate portal onto Eonic, and the Impale as well. So low for the support already. Forced to use Cataclysm. There's the Fear No Evil. The Desert Fury going to be able to finish him off through space and time. Clips Hurriwind and Cynosure with the Unstable Vortex in stealth. Right back to where he came, right underneath that tier 1 tower. Both Hurriwind and Cynosure are forced to back. Snoopy, meanwhile, on that left-hand side, is able to respond with a tier 1 tower of his own.
They're going to find at least 500 gold from 500 gold. The rest of Noble are going to look for those rotations. But you were talking about the counter engage. How long is it until too long of a wait for Memory of Gabe until they just collapse on their faces here? You know, you have to be able to just look for some plays every now and then. Sometimes you're just going to have to force the issue.
Absolutely. I mean, you're a big proponent of that, as much of our chat, as I'm sure they're spamming that right alongside you. 3-9, Memory of Gabe, a little bit behind Noble here. Like you mentioned, one of the first times so far in this young SPL spring split that they have been on the ropes. But these two teams are fairly familiar with one another, totally. Like I mentioned, Uzzy and Chapo played them a lot during the open bracket stages whenever they were, before they had joined this Noble squad. And then in relegations, they end up facing off against them quite often. So these two teams pretty familiar with one another.
Absolutely, and we also going to see more rotations here around the right side of the map this time around. Noble still with a commanding lead, 17.5 minutes in with this 7,000 gold lead. They're just going to look for more baits and more plays. They found the tier 1 in mid, the tier 1 on the right hand side, and with Uzzy being 2 levels ahead of Whalrus, this wouldn't be a bad idea to lean on the soul lane while the Gold Fury's still down for another minute.
And you can see MLC Stealth right on top of that net worth chart, just absolutely killing it on this Janus in the middle lane. Been a part of 8 of the 9 kills for Noble, 4, 0, and 4. For the mid laner, he's got some good cooldown between Sands of Time and that Spear of Desolation. Excellent amount of penetration as well with that item. And because even though
space and time on the left, though, Snoopy might be caught out of position. Unstable Vortex not on the mark. Despite Threshold slowing down Snoopy, Chapo, surprisingly enough, elected not to dive that.
Yeah, Eonic was in that left side jungle. Could have tried to get over there and help his Hunter. Does have that blink available now that he's hit level 12. So maybe we will start to see Gabe be a little bit more aggressive and try to be the initiators instead of waiting for Noble to initiate onto them.
And this is a similar story from this set to the last one where Shadow Nightmare was playing the Poseidon and was left untouched. Very similar case here for MLC Stealth, which is why he is getting off to a tear. Level 18 already on this Janus. Has a Spear of Desolation, fully stacked Doomworm, now working on the Rod of Tahuti more than likely. And that's going to be a huge damage spike for him.
Yeah, there are very few mids in the world with the lead that are better than MLC Stealth. He's always willing to play aggressive whenever he has a lead like this. You see him throw that through space and time out there. Isn't able to find Snoopy, but just trying to make plays, and that synergizes so well with Noble's roster. Gold Fury already right around half HP. Whalrus is teleported in, but Chapo 2v1 finds both sets of beads onto Hurriwind and Cynosure.
Finding a lot of damage as well. The rest of Memory of Gabe needs to be able to sustain off of Hurriwind at this point. It is a maxed out heal. He also went for Rod of Asclepius just to amplify that sustain option. But Whalrus, he's looking to find the pull-push combination. Without the Fear No Evil, this could allow Memory of Gabe to look for this gold.
Uzzy on the right-hand side, pushing down that tier 2 tower. There's through space and time, trying to bisect the team fight. Cynosure eats a huge crit from Chapo right away, already very, very low. But he goes back in onto the jungler, the portal there, able to find Chapo and escape. Tier 2 tower does fall on the right-hand side. Cynosure almost falls himself to that side unstable Vortex from MLC Stealth, who is just doing so much damage right now for
Whalrus,
Noble.
he's leading the charge. He's going to be stunned out here. The rest of Memory of Gabe healing up a little bit further. It is a 4-on-4 here as Chapo heads it back, but at the same time, Cynosure is still really healthy here around the corner. I thought he did back there, but he's doing a good job sustaining off of his death scythes as well as raw sustain.
Whalrus here trying to stop Noble from doing that Gold Fury, but he's all by himself. There's the knock-up, there's the Intoxicate as well. The portal yet again pulling the damage off of Desert Fury, and Whalrus able to escape courtesy of that Geb shield from Eonic. Here's where that healing sustain potential for Gabe's composition really starts to impact the team fight. Everyone from Gabe full health, whereas you see a lot of members of Noble poked out. Gold Fury right around half HP. Uzzy still has Colossal Fury, and there he goes. Pops it right on top of the team. Chapo blinks in the backline, immediately erases Snoopy. Hurriwind in a lot of trouble as well. Geb shield buys him time, but not enough as Wowy picks up the second kill for Noble.
Wubbn finding a double knock up there. Nice pull-push combination there, taking a little bit of damage as Uzzy. Eonic's gonna fall. Execute threshold is Uzzy. Landing back down. Gonna find it. So far it's a 3-on-1, but Cynosure gets traded out, and Whalrus is the last remaining member here for Noble.
Nowhere for him to go either. He's got a driving strike soon. May try and use it to get away. He will from that knock-up, but the slow from Chapo through space in time just to secure it for Stealth. 5-0-6 for the mid laner. Deicide the way of Noble, and they're looking strong here in game one.
Just so much power play, so many highlights coming out of Noble. The ultimate from Stealth to start off that team fight through the Gold Fury underneath, and then Chapo taking the portal, making sure that he was going to get out of danger away from Cynosure initially. And because of the first Fear No Evil set up those double beads from Cynosure and Hurriwind, allowed the second one to make the true damage and impact in that team fight, which is why we see that Deicide, and even neglecting the Gold Fury, so much of a long respawn timer that Noble can get this Fire Giant for free.
In Memory of Gabe, trying to get something in response though. Gold Fury, like you mentioned, Noble decided to go the other side of the map and pick up that Fire Giant after their Deicide. So Gabe gonna be able to put a little bit of gold in their pockets. At this point, they need it. They're down right around 10,000 gold before the Gold Fury goes down, around 8,000 afterwards. But still, Noble, 4 members of the Fire Giant, Uzzy, the only one without it. And Noble just continuing to group up and try and take the fights. And like I mentioned there, Tolly, that is exactly what you want as Gabe's draft. You want to take long engagements and then heal and re-engage. But the blink Fear No Evil from Chapo around the backside completely turns it in Noble's favor.
Not to mention the through space and time portals that Stealth can easily throw out, allowing Batz to go in aggressively off of that option as well. So this is something Noble have been capitalizing on. Minimizing the duration of the team fights hurts Memory of Gabe. You have aggression against long, sustained, resilient composition out of Memory of Gabe. It hasn't been working out for the blue squad thus far, but if Noble get too aggressive and too handsy around these Phoenixes in tier 2 towers, then Memory of Gabe can still draw this one out. They're down a little bit of gold here, 9,000 at the 23 minute mark, but this is not full build potential coming out of Noble quite yet.
Not quite yet, but you see Eonic, or excuse me, it's actually Whalrus for Gabe, has actually picked up a Frenzy, trying to make sure that Gabe don't lose any more gold or objectives. That's going to be popped pretty early on here, I imagine, if the engagement starts to happen underneath this tier 2 tower or the Phoenix, or wherever Gabe really wants to try and make the defense happen. Wubbn feeling confident. He's actually gone for a Void Stone right away. There's the Frenzy pop. There's a Cataclysm in from Eonic. The snipe not there from Hurriwind. The Blink Fear No Evil on the backside. Snoopy and Hurriwind completely zoned away. Through space and time, gonna hit a couple there. Petrify is big and on point from Snoopy, but the snipe is not from Hurriwind. Uzzy around the backside, just stomping everyone down on this baby.
Whalrus is gonna have to back off as well. The rest of Memory of Gabe are gonna concede the tier 2 tower, utilizing that heal off of Hurriwind. It's gonna give Noble 1,500 gold in their pocket. They still have Fire Giant for another minute and 40 seconds. They're transitioning into the mid lane, and that's a lot of cooldowns used by both teams thus far. Wubbn has Intoxicate, and Cynosure has Hovering Death, but that's about it.
No Frenzy this time around. That was a big part of the damage that Gabe was able to do to Noble in that engagement. Tier 2 tower goes down without a fight from the North American, the team at the top of North America right now in Memory of Gabe, though it looks like Noble might be ready to hand them their first loss of the split.
And this is a great spot to do it in, having a lot of confidence, finding 2 splits already earlier on in the last engagements. The question is, can they utilize more of their momentum? Can they find a second win? Because Noble, they can hang with the big boys. Clearly, we can all see that. But can they clean up any sort of shenanigans in the second game?
Well, we'll have to wait and see. They got to close out game 1 still before they can start thinking about game number 2. They're up 14-4 in kills, a 10-kill lead for the Noble squad with a couple console players on their side, though again, and Memory of Gabe has one as well. Cynosure is 2-2-2 in this game, been a part of every kill so far for Memory of Gabe. Only 2 deaths, but just hasn't quite had that impact on the Thanatos. You can see him 4th on the team in player damage.
He also missed out on that one huge opportunity onto Uzzy diving that tier 1 tower. That could have potentially looked to turn things around as well, because Whalrus plays very well with a little bit of a lead and momentum, and having a Hercules starting rotating around and making impacts in team fights. We saw earlier on today what Frezzy was able to do with that Hercules, so that option was taken away from Memory of Gabe, but now they're on the defense here. They lost all their towers. They still have Phoenixes remaining, though. The Fire Giant's about to fizzle off.
The Fire Giant get a respawn in just about a minute, which means the Gold Fury, that's up at about a minute and 20 seconds. Very, very patient play here from Noble, not trying to force down any Phoenixes quite yet. Gabe grouped up in the jungle. Frenzy available this time for Eonic. Chapo sees everyone and immediately turns and runs. There's a Blink Cataclysm snipe off the mark from Eonic, courtesy of that Purification beads. Purification nowhere to go for Eonic. Petrify was fired up by Snoopy as well. Stealth just able to escape through that portal. Cynosure looking to clean him up, and he will. Someone finally puts down the mid laner for Noble, but the rest of the team fight is going Noble's way. Hand over fist. Whalrus gonna fall, 4 dead. Only MLC Stealth falls in Noble, and only Cynosure left to defend.
That's so unfortunate for Stealth, though. Even though he sacrificed his life 1 for 4, his relics were coming off cooldown. About 6 seconds remaining until that hovering dove did land and execute the mid Janus that went for this glass cannon build, now doing so much damage. Top of the leader charts, barely above Elchapo there.
Absolutely, just absolutely killing it between the mid and the jungle. Middle Phoenix falls in Memory of Gabe, still trying to defend their base. Deathsight's going to do a little bit of poke to Wubbn, but the rest of Noble still here, still pushing down this right-hand side. Wowy and Uzzy and Elchapo, all physical damage here, but outside of Wubbn, but it's not going to matter as the Phoenix does indeed fall. Cynosure and Eonic thinking about continuing the chase. They're trying to catch him down, but the rest of Gabe is going to be able to follow up.
Finding a triple knockup there, silencing out Chapo. He's going to jump away into safety. Cynosure, he gets the speed boost, the snipe a little off the mark, barely avoiding the umbrella ring. It looks like the rest of Memory of Gabe are going to back off. Fire Giant and Gold Fury is up, so have to be really careful for Noble. They can't all back at the same time, because that would allow Memory of Gabe to sneak this one away.
Stealth actually did use through space and time there to get back to the team fight just in case something was going to go wrong and in Memory of Gabe would chase it out. But look at how much cooldown he's got. He's got the Sands of Time, he's got the Spear of Desolation, the Chronos Pendant, so he's capped CDR, but he's actually above the cap courtesy of that Chronos Pendant passive, which doesn't affect that.
Absolutely. The way that passive works is every 10 seconds you're going to be getting an additional 1 second off of your cooldown, so that's definitely going to help out his ultimate at the very least over that 40% mark. However, that was also an attempt to maybe find a long distance kill onto maybe a squishy target, either onto Hurriwind or Snoopy. He's done it before in the past.
He absolutely has. The Cannon, you don't get a nickname like the Cannon without being a cannon. Let's just, you all understand what I mean by that. 18-5, Noble in the lead. Fire Giant already going their way. Middle Phoenix down, right side Phoenix down as well. Only that left Phoenix ready to go. The whole team really wants this speed buff, and they will eventually get it once it does respawn. You see Wubbn in the mid lane.
He's like, teamwork, yay,
yeah,
we got the speed buff.
Great work, team. We bursted that speed buff down as fast as humanly possible. Gold Fury's up right now, but I'm not sure that Noble's really too worried about it. You can see mostly full build across the board. Wowy's still waiting to finish off the last half of his item, Elchapo as well. But Uzzy's full build. Stealth is holding on to that Sands of Time just for the cooldown factor, I believe. And then the Frenzy is ready to go for Wubbn.
The 6 to 7 minute mark, or 6 to 7 minutes before this point when the Fire Giant was still onto Noble, Memory of Gabe could have potentially held onto it because of the fact that there was no full builds available. But this time around, Noble is getting to that late game form. They're sitting at 76,000 collective gold, and that's where 6 Phoenix items come online. The rituals are starting to take into place as well. We see a flickering, 2 frenzies as well. It's going to be very difficult now for Memory of Gabe to really hold this one down. They also have a frenzy of their own.
Yeah, Whalrus, again, he's invested 1,500 gold total in just trying to make sure Gabe can defend from the Fire Giant team of Noble. Last time it went okay. They defended for a little bit, though the tower did eventually fall. But now Noble, they've got an extra frenzy. They've got 2 in Memory of Gabe's 1. And like you mentioned, that flickering ritual for Chapo can blink in, fear no evil, blink out with the flickering ritual. It'll be difficult to deal with that amount of mobility out of the jungle.
And then the portals and threshold from MLC
Yeah.
stealth, you know, and then all of a sudden, like, where did this monkey go? And then left-hand side, Phoenix still going to be aggressed on here by the Fire Giant side. Out of Noble still for 2 more minutes. They have a lot of room to play with because there's going to be Fire Minions on the right and the mid lane. We see Chapo in mid waiting around just to see if there's somebody going to be out of position, if he can really start bursting people down here.
Middle Phoenix almost respawn, but there's the ritual and the blink in from Eonic through space of time. Fired, and Cynosure already very, very low. Chapo, in fact, able to pick him up quickly. Another frenzy popped at Uzzy. Pops up Snoopy. 4 dead there for Noble. And they're ready to give, in Memory of Gabe, their first loss of the split. Noble continues to improve, now taking a game off one of the top teams in North America.
22-5 here. This was like not even close on the side of the matchup. It was a heavily defensive-minded composition from Memory of Gabe that was just met with the pure offense coming out of Noble. Now, luckily, they did hit some really nice snipes as well from MLC Stealth, making a huge factor with that through space and time. So I'm really looking forward to see how Memory of Gabe adapts that in the second game picks and bans.
I mean, we've seen